I know I'm late up talking about Alberto Del Rio getting fired by the WWE, but I just wanted to wait and see what was going to unfold with the situation because it was kind of random when he got fired. It was actually funny. In my Q&A, if you guys watch my weekly Q&As on my channel, my Thursday Q&A, someone asked a question that went along the lines like, if someone got fired tomorrow, who wouldn't you care about if they got fired? So like if a superstar got released, who I wouldn't care about? And Alberto Del Rio was one of those guys. And then it was funny, as I was uploading my Q&A, I think I was on lordsofpain.com, and then all of a sudden I refresh it, it's like Alberto Del Rio fired by the WWE, and I was just like, whatever. But even if I do not care about Alberto Del Rio, it was kind of interesting reading some of the stuff that he did to get himself fired. Now, it was no secret that like around springtime, March, that Alberto Del Rio's contract was going to be expiring soon with the WWE, and that pretty much he was already 1 foot out of the door, that he was just going to be half-assing his way through the rest of his time with the company. Let's face it, the dude right now, if you're Alberto Del Rio, you should be pissed off that you're not getting featured that much. Here you were getting shoved down our throats back in 2011. You were getting handed the silver platter of how to be a main eventer in the WWE. Alberto Del Rio was getting that silver fucking platter. Soon as he made the main roster, they sat him down. They gave him a nice big old steak, saying that's your World Heavyweight title. They gave him some vegetables. Those are going to be your big-time feuds that we're going to have you do. And then gave him some mashed potatoes. That was his Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank wins. They were telling him how to become a main eventer. They were setting him up to be a big star in the WWE. And if you're Alberto Del Rio for your first, let's just say 3 years into the company, you wish that you had a career like Alberto Del Rio. Most wrestlers would die to have Alberto Del Rio's career. He's a former 4-time world champion. He won a Royal Rumble, and he won a Money in the Bank. Most wrestlers would die to have that career, and you gotta admit, you gotta think, he also got paid pretty damn well as well, because, winning 4 world titles, you would think that would make your contract a little bit more worthwhile, right? Right? So, really, Del Rio was always handed everything on a silver platter. To me personally, the reason why I don't really care for Alberto Del Rio that much is because I never found him to be entertaining. I liked when he first debuted in the WWE. I thought this guy was going to be something special, but I think what kind of deluded me from really wanting to like Alberto Del Rio was that everyone was comparing him to Eddie Guerrero, and then it was just kind of like I did not want to envision this guy being the next Eddie Guerrero. Like, I was just saying to myself, I don't see it with this guy. I don't see how he's the next Eddie Guerrero. So instead of looking at him as just Alberto Del Rio, I was looking at him more as the next Eddie Guerrero, which I could never picture because Del Rio does not have the same type of charm and appeal that Eddie Guerrero had. And Del Rio was just kind of always bland to me. On the microphone, Del Rio never really was that good. I mean, his famous catchphrase is, "It is my destiny," when he used to do that with his fingers waving in the air and stuff like that. That's really his famous catchphrase and his claim to fame when it comes down to him on the microphone. Other than that, he was always stale and boring on the microphone, and that's just my opinion on his talking skills. I mean, he had some charisma, but it was just like sometimes his talking points, they would just ramble on, and you just didn't care, and you just lost interest in the Del Rio promo. One thing about Del Rio I will say is that he was a good worker. I don't take that away from anyone. If you can go in the ring, you can go in the ring, and Del Rio could definitely go in the ring. I have to say, he has some of the best enziguris I've seen in a while, and definitely some of the best kicks I've seen in a while. So I do like Del Rio's ring work, but ring work for me only goes a long way. It really only goes a long way. If you can't really tell a story worth a damn, I don't really care about you. And Del Rio, his storytelling, in ring-wise, the moves that he performed, pretty damn solid. But when it came down to storytelling, really the only story that he could tell really, really well was if he was going to set you up for an arm breaker. If he was going to weaken down your arm, weaken down your arm, weaken down your arm, and then hit the cross arm breaker. That was really the only story Alberto Del Rio could tell in the middle of the ring. The only other time he really got a good story out of anyone was against Dolph Ziggler at that Payback pay-per-view in Chicago. Remember, Ziggler was defending his world title, and it was the classic double turns. Del Rio turned heel, Ziggler turned face. That was the only time I felt Del Rio executed at telling a really, really great story. But other than that, it's mostly just the same story with him. If you watch one Del Rio match, I always say you've seen them all. He's just been someone that I feel has just been stagnant. And I feel like a lot of people, now are jumping on Del Rio bandwagon and be like, oh, it's unfair how he got fired. Look, in the WWE, it's 50-50. 50% is creative and the writers trying to find something to do for you. And then the other 50% is you going out there and performing. If you ain't doing your job well, you're not going to get to that massive push. You know, Del Rio, really, to be honest, let's face it, one of the main reasons why he was pushed so heavily was because he was a Hispanic star. The WWE was looking to add more Hispanic stars. When Del Rio was getting pushed, they knew Rey Mysterio, he had too much mileage on his career. Rey Mysterio was not the same Rey Mysterio as he was back in like 2006, 5, 4, 3, 2. You get the idea. He wasn't the same Rey Mysterio that they brought in. Rey Mysterio was slowing down, and the WWE noticed that Rey Mysterio, when it came down to his connection with the fans, some of the fans started to turn their back on Rey Mysterio. 2010 was really the year where Rey Mysterio started to not get really that much popular anymore. A lot of the internet fans started to turn his back on him. How I remember TLC 2010, it was always surprising to me when Rey was climbing up for that world title belt, and those fans were booing the hell out of Rey Mysterio. I was like, oh my God. I never thought Rey Mysterio would ever get that type of heat. I always thought fans would just love and appreciate Mysterio, but that wasn't the case there. So Rey Mysterio, he was kind of slowing down in his career, and WWE had Del Rio, coming into the WWE at the time. And then not only that, they had Sin Cara coming into the WWE too. So they're kind of building up, their Hispanic demographic. I believe also in 2011, it was going to be their year when they finally went back to Mexico after many years of not being there. I think the last time they went to Mexico was like 2007 at that point. And so, of course, they're going to shove Del Rio and shove fucking Sin Cara down our throats because they want to sell out that Mexico show. It's rare when the WWE goes to Mexico sometimes. So, really, to be honest, that's really why Del Rio got his push and the success that he had. I'm not trying to take away anything from him. Like I said earlier, he is a good in-ring worker, but besides that, he wasn't ultimately super duper successful, like outside of, just what he did. Because, the WWE, it is their fault for, stripping down his character naked. Because remember, this guy used to come out to cars, a personal ring announcer, great mariachi music, golden sparks, and then they took away the cars, they took away the ring announcers. The golden sparks were gone. He got Christmas mariachi music. And really, to be honest, all he had left was a white scarf, which meant he was a face Del Rio, or black scarf, which means he was bad Del Rio. He was angry Del Rio that night. So, really, to be honest, WWE did not do Del Rio any favors by taking away a lot of his, things that made him into a great character and a great gimmick. But Del Rio himself didn't do any favors by not trying to adapt and trying to think of a new character. Because I just felt Del Rio, if you're Del Rio, and let's just picture yourself as Del Rio, you started in that company probably in FCW, you learned your craft, you changed your style up to the WWE style, they bring you up to the main roster, and they give you that silver platter to freaking success. What are you going to think if you're Alberto Del Rio? Oh, you're going to think that you deserve to be in the main event all the time. The WWE gave you that silver platter. They already gave you the world title, in your barely your first year in the company. Why not? Why not just assume that you're always going to get pushed to the top? Why do you need to try? You don't need to try in anything. You don't need to change anything up. The WWE is going to push you to the top whenever they need you. Sure. Why not try? Why not try? That's what I was thinking with Del Rio. I think sometimes Del Rio took his WWE career for granted, that he was always on cruise control, thinking that, oh, it doesn't matter what I do out there, I'm still going to get pushed. I'm still going to be featured heavily. And when Del Rio realized that he probably wouldn't be featured heavily, Del Rio kind of understood, I got to get the fuck out of here before it's too late. So, I don't condone what Del Rio did, slapping a social media worker. If the social media worker was being racist towards him, like the reports say, I would have to say, you know what? Good for you, Del Rio, standing up for your race. But I also want to talk about the possibility of this being a work. I don't think this is a work. It's because sometimes I don't think the WWE is smart enough to think of something like a work. I really do like hearing the fan theories, though, of how this could be a work. The one fan theory that I like a lot is the one that this is a work for him to join the new nation, which would make a lot of sense. Another work is to, another theory that is like kind of quiet but not as big as the other fan theories as him joining the new nation is that, this is a work to change Del Rio's gimmick. No longer will he be the Mexican rich guy, but maybe a more angry and controlling Mexican. I don't know if that's really all that cool or not, but it is what it is. And, the WWE, they don't call him Alberto Rodriguez. They call him Alberto Del Rio. In his release release blog, and then they also talk about him on Twitter. So I get where some people are saying it's to work, but I think the WWE is doing this to spite Del Rio, you know, by not calling him by his real name. They're using it to spite him. They're saying, like, you know what? No one man is bigger than all the production guys or social media guys. You know, a lot of people will say, well, Del Rio didn't do shit. I mean, Chase, superstars have done way worse to other superstars. Yeah, Randy Orton shit in a woman's bag before. Yeah, Sheamus has gone into fights with Yoshitatsu and Sin Cara and got his ass kicked in both of those. Yeah, you know, the WWE, though, they let those slide because those are between two superstars and two wrestlers and all that other stuff. You know, WWE kind of lets that shit slide. It's more of their social media and their production crew that I think they won't let slide, you know, because really, to be honest, what are they going to do to defend themselves? I mean, if you're in the WWE, just think about this. Del Rio is a legit MMA fighter. This dude's a legit MMA fighter. We all know no wrestlers in the back are going to fuck with Alberto Del Rio. But if Del Rio is hitting someone that really, all he's there for is to promote Twitter. All he's there for is to tweet out stuff to the WWE Universe fans. Or if he's just some guy that writes articles on WWE.com, that dude is probably not someone who is athletically built. That dude is just there to do his job that the WWE is giving it to him. And maybe the guy, he probably was saying a joke, and, you know, Del Rio being a serious cat that he is, I wouldn't be surprised if that guy was just joking around with Del Rio, and Del Rio, at this point of his career, he was already 1 foot out the door anyways. He's like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. And he just slapped the guy across the face. Like, you know, you just got to think, Del Rio's a legit fighter. This guy would have fucked that dude up if he wanted to. I mean, that guy should be happy Del Rio just slapped him across the face because Del Rio could have fucked up his world. So, in all honesty, when it comes down to it, you cannot kind of understand why WWE was saying, okay, Del Rio, you're gone. You're fired. You know, if Del Rio is truly gone from the WWE, it is a shame because he is a guy that the WWE ruined, you know, being a big top star for them. But at the same time, he's going to get a bunch of opportunities elsewhere. You know, he's going to do well in AAA. He's going to do well, you know, for TNA if TNA wants to pick him up. Hell, he's going to make that Japan money if he wanted to. So really, to be honest here, Del Rio, I think he's in a good position in his career that, you know, him leaving WWE, it doesn't really hurt his career. He's going to get the indie dollars. You know, AAA is going to empty out their bank account to get him. You know, TNA might offer him a good deal. And hell, you know, with AAA being formed with Global Force Wrestling, Global Force just picked up one of their, a really big star in Del Rio, in my opinion, especially for a Global Force. That's a really big win to pick up Alberto Del Rio. So in all honesty, I feel that the WWE, they won't miss Del Rio that much. You know, they are going to be hurting the Hispanic the Hispanic area for a while. The Hispanic, demographic. There's the word, demographic for a while. You know, they're going to try to bring up Kalisto to help fill that void, but I don't even think Kalisto is really all that big in my opinion. You know, when it comes down to the Hispanic demographic like Del Rio was. So, you know, they will find someone to replace Del Rio. But it is a shame, and it does suck for Alberto Del Rio that he did get fired. But it is what it is at the end of the day. What did you guys think about Alberto Del Rio getting fired? Are you like me that are saying that, you know, it's 50-50? You know, you can kind of understand why the WWE released him. You know, it does kind of make sense. Do you guys believe it's a work? I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this whole Alberto Del Rio situation? I truly think that he's gone and that the WWE is just spiting him in all this. And they're trying to teach other superstars a lesson. And hey, if Del Rio, you know, Del Rio has to be getting paid big time by the WWE, at least maybe that's a good budget cut for them. So, hey, works out at the end of the day for the WWE, right? What did you guys think about the Del Rio release? I would like to hear your comments in the comment section down below. If you guys like this video, give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you guys check out my Impact Wrestling and my NXT reviews from yesterday on this channel. I'll see you all next time. Hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my website. Peace.